Good day, good evening to you, whenever you're watching. I thought I would come on and share the Wednesday, Thursday Oracle message. But first, I just wanted to, well, this is really part of the message from the day, but it was just kind of an observation, I guess, from the spiritual realm, commentary from the other side, that this is such a great time to lend itself to exploring our subconscious motivations. And I've mentioned recently that I'm doing the to be magnetic work, and a lot of it has to do with tapping into that subconscious, and it just brings forth so many epiphanies. And a lot of it, there's a lot of a journaling that goes with it. And if you've ever automatic journaled, you really discover a lot that is just not really present in your conscious mind, or like right there to grab off the shelf. It's just something that will pop up when you invite it in, but you don't know what's coming. So I've been realizing a lot of things that have been in my subconscious that have been really influencing behaviors and decisions and the way I interact with life. And it's so interesting because having realizing it and then taking action to make conscious decisions and kind of reprogram all of that, basically like get rid of that old faulty buggy software and like reinstall new updated better software basically. And so it's so interesting being in this reset right now, and I feel like this is true for a lot of people because all of the astrology is pushing us in this direction as well. It's asking us to re-examine, and it has been for months, but it's like really culminating right now to re-examine what we value in the long run about love and marriage and finances and relationship and partnership. But also, we're being expanded by Aquarius, and we're starting to think of innovative ideas that are changing how we really see those institutions, how we have traditionally viewed them, and how we might be looking at them differently going forward in a more expanded fashion. And so you may have been feeling like during the Venus retrograde over the past several weeks, feeling like back and forth about, maybe a feeling of homesickness, longing for a feeling of belonging or being in and settled in a harmonious, domestical, blissful situation. But then just don't make any sudden moves yet because Venus is going direct on the 29th. So there may be another like shifting of gears, but this time the shifting of gears is sort of like getting us on the highway, and we're going to be like kind of headed in that direction for a while. So we're finally getting kind of settled in and really getting more clarity around what we really value, what is drawing us, what is luring us, what is enticing us, where our passions are leading us. And now that we're being able to dump a lot of that subconscious programming, we're getting to make authentic decisions for the first time based on kind of a blank slate, not really driven by a traumatic impulse or a need or, a feeling of insecurity or neuroses. It's going to be from a place of like more whole and empowered choice based on preference and not survival instinct. So I think we're going in a really exciting direction, and I think that all of the whole cosmos is trying to support us in this right now. So we're rebuilding, and we're antsy and itchy to get started. Oh, I had the best sentence come to me today, and it was to be comfortable in one's own skin, we must make the skin comfortable to inhabit. Chew on that. I was like, oh, that's really good. But also in a way it kind of belongs in a fortune cookie. Just simple little bite-sized morsel to chew on. But yeah, so right now, get in touch with those subconscious those things that are in our subconscious. And, you know, I think a lot of times when we think about unpacking childhood trauma, we go back and we rake through our mind like, okay, well, what was some of these dramatic, you know, big movie theater preview moments that, you know, we expect have really shaped us in like in these intense ways. And sometimes it's things that are not sentimental or emotional, and it affected us anyway, and it's not something we would look for. For instance, I was, you know, been doing the To Be Magnetic work, not an affiliate, but I should be. So I think I highly recommend their workshops to anyone that wants to get rid of some baggage. I joke around, I lost 30 years of baggage in 2 weeks. Yeah, so I was reliving my birth experience, and I realized that I didn't connect this. So, okay, going back before I tell you about the birth story, my whole life, every day around sunset, I get this feeling of like deep sadness, feeling of like insecurity, like I feel very alone, I feel very frightened and unsure and insecure, and I want to like connect to someone who I love and trust. And usually that's when I like will call someone, especially if I'm like in the car alone. Like I'll always either want to be with someone, or like I'll have I'll just want to call somebody that time of day, or like connect to a human being, or distract myself from this like deep sense of like mortality. And I found out, and it's always around like 6 o'clock or sunset, that is the time that I was born. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe it's because I was born so late in the day, and I always feel like, I do always kind of feel like, oh, time's running out, like I need to hurry, like I'm always anxious, like there's like a deadline or something that I'm missing. And I was like, well, maybe it relates to that. Maybe it relates to that being late in the day, and like I'm always kind of sad at the day's over, and I'm always like kind of sad in the fall that like, you know, the season is dying and whatnot. So I was like, maybe it's that. But I had forgotten until recently that the moment that I was born, like I came out of the opening of my mother, the doctor had me in his hands. He says, "She's a redhead," and then I slipped through his hands and he drops me on the floor and I hit my head. That is like the moment I was born. I was not what was expected, and I slipped through the hands of the doctor. The doctor dropped me on my head, and I can't imagine like how terrifying and shocking and jolting and confusing and disorienting and painful and dangerous that would be for me, a fresh newborn, to fall 3-4 feet onto a hard tile floor. That might break your phone. I had one of those mushy like baby skulls. So what was profound was that in this like hypnotic meditation, I found myself like kind of flailing, and like I was kind of crying, and like I like my head was moving, I was flailing, and I was like, what's happening? And I was like, oh, this must have been what it was like to be born and immediately dropped and then be flailing around and not know what to do with my limbs or my head or anything, because they usually will like wash a baby off and like swaddle them and, you know, give them to the parents or whatever. But I was like immediately dropped. And I have always had this thing where the subconscious, I don't know, like I always feel like I'm not what's expected. Like I'm not blonde girl next door. I'm not brunette. I'm not even really like the typical redhead. Like I'm kind of just like an alien. And I don't really fit into the categories. And so I do always feel like I'm like, oh, I'm unexpected. And like, I don't know. And it's just like, it finally occurred to me. I'm like, what if it's because the doctor said that? I was dropped and I was immediately in this like, okay, so in order to imprint something, for a subconscious imprint to be made that might be turned into like an operating system that is like running the ship, you just need to have been in a very emotionally galvanizing situation when you were in an impressionable state. And that is the most impressionable state you can be in. That's like the earliest childhood trauma you can have. And so it was just like, oh, the doctor dropped me. He happened to like point all that out. And all at once, like all of that, like imprinted this thing that like translated into, I don't know, 38 years of like, who knows how many hours and years and months when you add up that accumulated energy that I've spent feeling anxious and like insecure and like feeling like I'm like poised on the brink of oblivion. And I think it's probably a lot of it to do with that moment of birth. It was so like jolting and shocking. It's like, oh well, right into the chaos. Here she comes, rolling in hot, hot and slick apparently. That's so true about me too. That's so funny. Hot and slick. Hilarious. Okay, so so a galvanizing experience that really made an impression on you. It could be anything. It could be so small. It could be, doesn't have to be like your parents or, an adult you looked up to. It could just be anything random that like you were like really like emotional and impressionable about. And it kind of like subliminally hypnotized you by accident. And then you've been running this program over and over again. And so the more like you start to realize those things and you're aware of it, you're like, that's not even, oh my gosh, and sometimes it is heavy baggage and sometimes it is trauma that you have to unpack, and maybe with a therapist, but sometimes it isn't. And sometimes even the heavy stuff or the moderately heavy to severe stuff can you can feel it and heal it and release it and let it move through you and transform and not let it control your decisions. And then you're going to have a whole different life, be a whole new person. But yeah, so let's talk about the cards for today. So the first, the Birds deck will every now and then just be squawking at me from the cabinet. And I'm talking about the Winged Enchantment by Lesley Morrison. I love this deck, and I always read the booklet with it because you'll see when I read it. It's very specific, and it's one of those things that's very poetic, and there's these lines that really will hit you, and you'll be like, oh my gosh, like that's so specific. So these two cards came out together, and usually when I'm shuffling, one card comes out of the bird deck at a time. But this time, two came out. I thought that was interesting. And it was duck and hawk. And then I went to open the book, and I opened right to duck. And I noticed that the numerology between duck and hawk is 15, and duck is 9. And so 15, 1 plus 5 is 6, plus 9 is 15 again, and then 1 plus 5 is 6. So we come back to the our year, the universal number of this year is 6. So it's about like transformation, integration, transmutation, that spiritual alchemy, integration, choice made from the heart, merging that divine masculine and feminine and that holy marriage, that holy union. So a lot of it does have to do with our, reevaluating what we deeply value and making our choices based on that as we move forward. So I thought that was just interesting just in the numerology of these two cards. But I want to read the book, the booklet description. So duck. If you can see the duck. There you go. I am duck, the complexity of emotion. I am the master of the undercurrents. I am the healing of the heart. I am the surge of inner motivations. You need to be aware of what drives you, what feelings are pushing you forward, which ones are drowning your progress. I am a creature of navigational purpose. You have to learn when to dive deeper and when to gently skim the surface. I am the equalizer of polarities. Let yourself balance the rush of the subconscious flow with the peace of equilibrium. Allow the experience of emotional catharsis, but do not forget to release the heavy entanglements. Feel your responses, but do not become overwhelmed. I am progress. I am growth. There is great healing in the waters. Water is a big theme for the year. Go back and watch. I have a playlist of 2022 predictions. Water is an ongoing theme. Check it out if you haven't seen it yet. You are cathartic. You are exploring the depths. You are fluidity. You are duck. Quack. All right, and next is hawk. You can see hawk. I am hawk, the majestic and visionary. I am the eyes of the gods. I am the whole picture. I have keen sight, seeing everything from every angle. I can see how today shapes tomorrow and how my future steers today. I am advantage and strategy and will always come prepared. If I am circling overhead, it is because you are not yet aligned with your future. Your path is off balance, your motivations uncentered, and your higher mind misaligned. To be a visionary takes more than just seeing the path ahead. You must construct it, shape it, and ensure it spans far enough to complete your task. Does your current way of doing things support what you seek to accomplish? If not, change course and create a new path. I encourage you to take a look at what drives you. Again, second time in 2 cards. You are perceptivity. You are the eyes of the universe. You are foresight. You are hawk. See what I mean about those messages? They're so special. Yeah, it's interesting. I love those 2 descriptions and messages from the spirit of duck. The message the duck carries and the message that that hawk carries. So pay attention if you notice a hawk or a duck, like literally in the world, think or catch yourself in that moment and ask, what was I just thinking about? What was I just thinking about really deeply? Or what big topic of my life that's important was just most recently in the conversation or in my awareness? And this can be an actual hawk or duck. It can be like you hear them. It might be like a duck on a shirt or a hawk on a shirt or a bumper sticker, whatever. Duck, hawk in any form that is literally not like oh, well, that swan looks like a duck. I'm going to make that my sign. Don't do that. Duck, hawk that stands out to you, be like, oh, what was I just thinking about? Okay. And then go back and remember what each of the descriptions meant. And then take the advice based on that. And just remember that hawk is trying to adjust you back on to your aligned path. Which doesn't mean that you're way off track. It just might mean that it's just a slight adjustment. And that's definitely happening with Mercury in retrograde. Venus is in retrograde, about to go direct. So things are really shifting. And then the north node of the moon is shifting into Taurus from Gemini. So that makes sense right now. And it's good to get rid of all this emotional baggage from the past and out of your subconscious. Do that deep spring clean, because with all of these astrological movements making things even more clear for you, you can have the freshest start on Earth, being one living being in one lifetime, because you can literally dump all those patterns. And as we start again in those big areas of like value systems and all of humanity is doing it together, it's like the ultimate reset. So take advantage of the energy of this time to do that. Have a wonderful evening. Talk to you later, alligator.